2017, both centered around Jerusalem. The most recent was, of course, U.S. President Donald Trump's recognition of Jerusalem as the capital of Israel that set off protests and rebuke throughout the region, throughout the world. That will continue, the reverberations of that, into 2018, undoubtedly. And then another major event also around Jerusalem that happened in 2017 were protests at the Al-Aqsa Mosque compound, which is Islam's third holiest site. Those protests were sparked by Israel putting up metal detectors at the entrance to the mosque. The Muslim worshippers said, "We're not going to have this," and it sparked protests. It sparked protests that lasted for quite some time. That was during the summer of July 2017, and that was essentially people saying, "We will not have Israel controlling the entrance to Islam's third holiest site." That also reverberated throughout the region, throughout the world. Going into 2018, Rachel, those two major events, specifically centering around Jerusalem, will, I believe, set the tone for 2018.
All right, Stephanie Fried live for us in Tel Aviv. Stephanie, thank you, and stay with me. We'll get back to you shortly. But first, joining me in the studio is Professor Zhou Rong, the senior researcher of Chongyang Financial Institute of Renmin University. Welcome, Professor. Thank you for joining us. Looking back at the Middle East in the past year, we saw some changes in the peace process, but there were also some concerning changes. Can you summarize some of the key events for 2017? What were some of the influencing factors?
The most important key events are that both Syria and Iraq has defeated ISIS. Of course, Syria is aided by Russia and Iran and some other concerned players, and Iraq is was led by United States and some other coalition army. But anyway, it's a great victory for the Middle East peace and stability, and it's a great victory on anti-terrorism. Not only that, but also some other peace process of Astana as well as of Geneva is continuing. But by the end of last year, there are two things. One is Jerusalem was recognized by President Trump as legitimate capital of Israel, which aroused the Palestine issue become the central one again of the world. Another one is the large-scale demonstration happened in Tehran and some other more than 10 couple of cities in Iran, which aroused people's attention that Iran will, it seems, going to be turmoil again. Thank you.
All right.
And also another thing is China's President Xi Jinping and his initiative, the Belt and Road Initiative, going on very smoothly. China enjoyed very good relations with all the major players, such as Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Iran, Turkey, Israel, and also with some minor countries like Qatar and Jordan and even Palestine. So China enjoyed very good relations with all the major players. And initiatives such as human future or human fortune community, this idea has been accepted and welcomed by most of the major players and all the rest of the people of those countries. Thank you.
All right, Professor Zhou, thank you. We'll be coming back to you shortly. And let's go back to our correspondent, Stephanie Fried, again in Tel Aviv. So, Stephanie, you talked about some of the major events that impressed you most last year. So what are your expectations for 2018?
Well, Rachel, just going off of what your guest was just speaking about in terms of the region and bringing it more into the focus here, in 2018, some big questions that will loom, let's say, vis-a-vis Israel, specifically Israel's relationship with Hamas that controls the Gaza Strip, also the Palestinian Authority and their relationship with Hamas. What's going to happen there? They said they were going to break apart the differences that they had in the past. Let's see what happens with that as well. Again, referring back to your guests, Iran, Hezbollah, also vis-a-vis Israel. There's been a lot of rhetoric or a lot of commentary, shall we say, coming from Israel's government right now in the wake of what we're seeing happen in Iran with protests. Will that develop into sort of more of a conflict or escalate? Let's see. Also, coming up this week, the Arab League plans to meet, and they're going to discuss the Jerusalem decision by Donald Trump to recognize Jerusalem as Israel's capital. They're going to meet in Jordan, foreign ministers, and they're going to discuss what position they're going to take. The Palestinian president, Mahmoud Abbas, has said the U.S. can no longer be a peace broker. Let's see what happens with peace in 2018 between the sides. Put aside all of the conflict-related news. In 2017, Israel signed numerous deals, including with China, in terms of tech and agriculture interests and military interests, and on and on. It's to be expected those deals will continue in 2018, and they'll continue to flourish.
All right. Stephanie Fried, live in Tel Aviv. Stephanie, thank you, and Happy New Year. And let's go back to Mr. Joe Rong in the studio. Mr. Joe, considering all the challenges as well as opportunities going on in the Middle East, what are your expectations for 2018?
I think mostly we can see the this year, and the challenge, the wars are winding down, and think this year will be defined by posting a post-war peace talk, as well as ballot box, as well as a reconstruction. You know, there are 4 elections which will happen in the Middle East country. The first is the election, presidential election, and the parliamentary elections of Egypt and Lebanon, which is one in May and one in March. Another one is Libya and the Iraqi elections, which will also happen next year. Not only that, the refugees issues, we all know there's 5.4 million Syrian refugees in the neighboring country, and a small number have already returned to Syria. But this year, that returning process will accelerating, but we will also face some other security and socio-economic issues. The third one also, though ISIL has been defeated, we all know that, but the threat it poses will continue, and will also maybe go into the underground operation that will launch as another suicide attack, as another terrorist attack in Syria, Iraqi area, as well as across the whole world. Thank you.
All right, Joe Rong, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
And you are watching Global Watch. This is CGTN. Good morning, Harare. Good morning, Zimbabwe. Good morning, Africa. We are moving on to the next stop of our special presentation, Daybreak 2018. The day is dawning in Zimbabwe's capital, Harare. Later on, we'll go to London and Washington, where CGTN reporters and correspondents will wish you a Happy New Year. But right now, let's go to our correspondent, Farai Mukatuya, in Harare. Good morning, Farai. So Zimbabwe saw a rather dramatic end to 2017. Run us through the major events there in the past